The school of the Master is a school for the sinners, not for the perfect. Those who believe to be perfect will never go to the Master. So Christ said, I have come in this world for the sinners. But the school of the Master is also the school of knowledge. If we know our soul, and then we know God, we shall develop all the qualities of God. And the qualities of God are love and happiness and joy, everlasting bliss. But the true seeker after God develops another important quality, which is humility. Because he feels that he is only a little drop in front of the infinite ocean of God. So if we have developed love, happiness and humility, we may say that we are on the right path. But of course nobody is perfect in this world. We have to go ahead. So the Master opens our inner eye and we start the journey back to God. From light to light, from glory to glory, finally we reach infinity and eternity. We merge into the ocean of everlasting bliss. This is the final scope of a true school of spirituality. So during our lifetime, we should learn how to die daily. St. Paul said, I die daily. But people in general don't understand what means I die daily. But with the grace of our Master, we have understood these important words of St. Paul. We must become able to die daily. To rise above body consciousness, open our inner eye and have a look of the beyond, of the luminous and glorious regions which are beyond the physical one. So St. Paul said also, I am not I who lives, but Christ lives in me. So when we learn how to die to the physical body, we lose our ego, our personal consciousness, and we live in the Master. In the Middle East, they say to die in the Master. And Jesus said also, those who die for my love will have everlasting life. So those who want to maintain their life, they shall lose it. But those who will die for the sake of the Master, they will gain eternity. So our physical life should be a preparation to the final entering into the beyond. And the Master teaches us how to prepare ourselves to that important moment. But through meditation, we can experience how to die, and we can conquer the death when we are still in life. We can enter into the eternity, into the infinite, when we are still in life. So the living Master is giving us a first-hand experience. The past masters are speaking in the books, but they cannot give us the experience of how to rise above body consciousness and realize a contact with God. This is the great difference between a living saint and a died one. In the temples, in the churches, gurdwara, mosque, they quote the masters and the saints of the past, while the living Master has always been looked with suspicious, because the living Master teaches us really what we have to do. And it is a hard discipline sometimes. We must be vegetarian, avoid alcohol, lead a honest life, and so on. And people in general is not ready to practice the teachings of a living Master. So to become a saint of the institutional religion, one should die before. Then he may be declared as a saint. because the living saints are really exigent. They demand us something to realize ourselves and God. So the Master come in every time in answer to the cry of people which are really eager to go back to their true home. The main desire of our spirit is to realize everlasting happiness, everlasting peace and joy. But this condition can be realized only when we learn how to rise above body consciousness and to enter into the kingdom of God, to see the light of God, to hear the all-pervading sound of the word. Then we enter into a region of perfect bliss and happiness. So to realize God means to have happiness, full happiness forever. No other pleasure of this world can be compared to such a divine bliss. And the Master is one that can lead us step by step to that marvelous goal. But very few there are each generation that can understand and then practice his divine teachings. But they are really fortunate, and they are the most fortunate persons in the whole world. Riches, power, name and fame, nothing can be compared to the realization of our spirit and the realization of God. So today we shall speak about an important quality of spiritual life, which is non-violence and love. In our diary form there is a place where to sign our mistakes in the field of non-violence. The century has changed. After the year 2000, the millennium also has changed, and there was a hope that peace and cooperation, love would have been the quality of the new millennium. But unfortunately, nothing changed. There are wars between religions, and there is violence in the society, in the families, and peace and love seems to be absent for the human society. So today we shall speak about this important virtue of the spiritual life, which is love and non-violence. So the opposite of the violence is love. That we can develop love when we see God. When we open our inner eye to see the light of God, and our inner ear to hear the voice of God, then we develop the divine love, which is eternal, which is beyond time and space. The love of this world starts and goes to an end, generally. But the divine love, the divine for God, is eternal. It goes beyond death also, because it is of spiritual origin, and the spirit is eternal. So to practice non-violence, through non-violence we must rise to a higher state of consciousness, rise above body consciousness and enter into the non-pervading love of God, all-pervading love of God. So we have remembered and imagined of the great Master Sant Kirpal Singh. If we would like to build up a statue to represent this great Master, his statue should be high like the sky, much more higher than that of the Pharaoh, of the kings, and of the great men of the history. So, Sant Kirpal Singh was the living example of a perfect man. The portrait of perfection, we may say. To live a high life, we must have an example. If we want to become a great artist, we must go to some artist all the time. So in his time, Sant Kirpal Singh was the living abode of God. Why? Because through his tongue and through his mouth, the power of God was speaking. Christ said, I am the bread of life. Those who come to me shall never be hungry, and those who follow me will never be thirsty. Because the Master Kirpal Singh gave us the bread and the water of eternity. He quenched by his nectar the thirst of our spirit. And when the spirit receives this nectar, it is forever. Under the teachings of the Master, and the spirit learns how to enter into the infinity and eternity. And it recover its original immortality. So the Master Kirpa Singh was the Word of God speaking through a human form. Guru Nanak also said, the Master is the Word made flesh, who assumed the form of a human body. So we were really fortunate to have such a great Master, and the highest form to celebrate his anniversary is to follow his commandments. From the eternity, from where he looks at us, he will be really happy if we shall follow his commandments. So in the various places and the religions there are the waters, sacred waters for the people who believe to purify themselves. So there are the sacred rivers like in India and the Ganges and others. There are the source of the waters in the various places of pilgrimage. Also in the churches there is a little recipient when the people goes in, put the hands on this water. This water is a symbol, because the water can wash our body. It is the symbol of washing our spirit. But of course our spirit cannot be washed by the physical water, but only by the water of the Spirit, which is given by the living Master. The masters of the past cannot give this water. From the beginning of the times, millennia ago, from master to master, this duty passed through the centuries. And it is the living Master that can give, who can give this fresh water for our spirit. This water is the light and the sound of God that quench the thirst of thousands of lives. It is a thirst of infinity that has the human spirit. Before going into the desert, and the desert places, the camels drink a lot of water, but the thirst of the spirit is still greater than that of the camels, because it is a thirst of infinity, thirst of God. This thirst can be quenched only by the Master, by the light and the sound that he gives to the soul which is ready to this inner experience. So St. Paul said, I die daily. And Guru Nanak said the same sentence. He said, learn to die not once, but 100 times a day. We must become able to die at will. This is an exoteric means how to rise above body consciousness, to overcome our senses and our mind, open our inner eye and to enter into the mysteries of the beyond, into the kingdom of God. This is the true scope of our life. But before being able to cross the 10th door, the inner eye or single eye, as Christ calls it, we must be able to control our senses and our mind. That is what the Master have called as self-control. One who has reached self-control has solved all the problems of life. Sometimes the people say, I am not able to rise above body consciousness, to open our third eye, my third eye. Why he is not able? Because the mind is disturbing him. He is not able to make his mind calm. And mental vibrations are like a veil, like a cover between our spirit and God. So the Masters come from time to time to teach us how to calm the mind, how to control our senses through a high and divine life, which is reproduced in the daily diary of our progress. When mind and the senses are under control, then they teach us how to open the third eye, the door of death, to conquer the door of death and to enter into the beyond, where we are reborn. Christ said, to enter the kingdom of God, you must be born again. The first birth, we have the first birth in the physical body. But the second one, the true birth, can be given us only by a competent master who teaches us how to have it, to open the 10th door and be born anew. Learn to die so that you can begin to live. This is the resume, how to resume the Master's teachings. But they are practical teachings, not only theory.